All right. So this is Trujillo Homestead, and we had just bought some 55-gallon HDPE barrels for several different reasons. One for rain capture, one for storage for holding our master blend formula or other formulas just for feeding our plants on the greenhouse, and then a couple other experiments, but we got 4 of them. And the problem is with white barrels, they tend to grow algae because they let light in. So we're trying to think, racking our brains, thinking of what could we do to mask it, not allow light in. A lot of people we've seen on YouTube paint them, which on HDPE plastic, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's high density polyethylene. Nothing sticks to it, really. I mean, you can put the paint meant for plastic and it will stick. It makes, in other words, it really just makes a shell. You're making an eggshell, so you puncture it and it'll break. It like cracking an eggshell. It doesn't really last. So, to me, I was thinking, well, what if we just added a 55-gallon trash bag over the top of it? Why not? Let's try it. This is what we got. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but to me it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's we didn't paint it. We just put a 55-gallon trash bag over it and heat it with a heat gun, and we'll actually show you how to do that right now. If you like it, cool. If not, go ahead and paint it or figure out what other means you got to do. But this is what we were thinking. Is it's pretty easy. It requires my wife and I to do it. Or I guess one person could do it, but it's easier with two people. It's definitely easier with two. But I think this looks pretty cool. Pretty sleek. It almost looks like shiny, almost metal from a distance, maybe.
What I like about it is if we ever need to pull it off and use it for a white bucket of whatever we need, we're not limited to having a painted bucket. We now have a cover that slips over it, but it's not changing the bucket itself.
Yeah. At any one point in time, just take a knife or your hands and just rip it off. No big deal. It's just a plastic cover. That's all it is.
And it saves countless hours of sanding, priming,
paint,
waiting for it to dry, painting, waiting for that to dry.
So we went to Home Depot and I was like, well, we'll just get some bags there, but we weren't able to find anything over 42 gallons. And obviously 42 gallons is not going to fit over a 55 gallon because it's smaller. So we found these at Harbor Freight. I think these were, I can't remember, but it was it was under $10. I want to say it was like $7, and 30 of them you can't really miss. I mean,
and if they rip or puncture or tear or break down in the sun, we'll just throw another slide. You'll see how quick it is.
Again. So right. For the cost, not a big deal.
So we want to slide one on?
Yeah, let's try this. It's a windy day, so you don't have to give us a little bit of leeway here. Open it up. And so we noticed what we had to do was a little trick. I'll show you that. Start it. But because it's so tight, air gets trapped. So what we did, and this is just a shell, so to speak, so it doesn't have to be, you know,
Watertight, airtight.
watertight, airtight, or any of that. So I just cut one end off that. Cut one end off that. That allows the air to pass through as we're pushing it down over. It helps a lot. We tried it without, and it was doable, but not easy. So I'm just sliding this over right now. Take one side, do the other side.
This is the part that's helpful with two people, not only sliding it over the entire bottom, but having somebody, you know, feed it down from the top while you're coasting it from the bottom. All right, we are centered.
All right, at this point, you've got the bag all the way, basically down to the bottom of the drum. And now we flip it over. Continue pulling this up gently over. Kind of pull the wrinkles out a little bit.
All right.
And so at this point you could call it good. But I kind of like a little sleeker look, so if you have a heat gun or a
Blow dryer.
blow dryer, that works just as fine with this. Doesn't require a whole lot of heat, but if you have one, if you want to make it a little sleeker, kind of like it, kind of go over the edge, kind of hold back the end a little bit. It will suck in, obviously. It's gonna shrink. And like I said, it's a windy day, you can see that. But it still works. We're not trying to cover the whole thing here. We're just trying to cover the majority of it. So, I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could take another sheet, overlap it, and these two would mesh. You could actually weld them together with this if you wanted a sheet on top. I'm not necessarily concerned about it at this point, so this is just a proof of concept. With all the videos we've seen online, they showed a lot of different techniques, but this just seemed an easy way to do it. One thing to note is that HDPE plastic will only mesh to HDPE plastic. So if your trash bag is HDPE plastic, it will melt into and actually weld to part of this if your containers are HDPE, which most are. The same thing as milk jugs or water 1 gallon water containers. Same thing. You could actually weld it to it and actually make it part of it, but that's not what I'm going for at this point. I just want a shell, something to keep the light up, keep the algae from growing.
Basically, you just want to be careful. You want it to shrink but not melt.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you're going for, that, you know, it's something to consider. Don't weld it to your container unless you need to, I guess. I wouldn't see why you need to. You might want to be careful. Obviously, I'm doing this. I have pretty callous hands. I just kind of touch it a little bit with my hands, but you might want to be careful. If you have sensitive hands, it gets hot.
And then the bottom, it's a personal preference. We just look at it as a finishing touch. You can keep it folded under and doesn't make any difference.
And that's that.
There you go. In less than 10 minutes, you got a barrel.
Yourself a blackened barrel. And like I said, if you needed to, if you were really concerned about algae, all that, in our experience, it really doesn't hurt us to have this exposed because we go through this stuff pretty quick. If you're gonna sit on this, like if the rain capture barrels and such like that, they're gonna be sitting over the course of months, then you might want to consider actually doing another processor. But for us, this is simply just for keeping our master blend or keeping our nutrient water just for the course of a couple weeks. I don't know if we can really extend it past that. We don't even know if this is going to work, just, you know, keep algae out. But at this point, I think it'll work for us. We'll let you know. We'll give you updates. But yeah, I think this is a great proof of concept. And so if we have any issues and it doesn't work, then we'll definitely come back and let you know that, hey, not a good idea. Or it's a great idea. Just go with it. But at this point, I think it actually is a pretty cool concept, if I do say so myself.
All right.
All right, with that.